How are
You
you?
once said that you would end the Ukraine war in 24 hours. You later said that sarcastically.
Well, of course it was sarcastic.
But you've now been in office for 5 months and 5 days. Why have you not been able to end the Ukraine war?
Because it's more difficult than people would have any idea. Vladimir Putin has been more difficult. Frankly, I had some problems with Zelensky. You may have read about him. And it's been more difficult than other wars. I mean, look, we just ended a war in 12 days that was simmering for 30 years, frankly.
This is my video update on this Thursday afternoon, June the 26th, coming to you from Athens, Greece. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with a Medvedev post on Telegram, a very long post from Dmitry Medvedev, where he says that Ukraine and the EU, that is off the table now for Russia. Once upon a time, actually back in April of 2022, during the first Istanbul talks, March, April, Russia was not against Ukraine entering the European Union. Actually, Russia said that they would support Ukraine's entry into the European Union. The red line was Ukraine and NATO. Well, as the European Union has been waging a war against Russia, and as they have been openly saying that they are going to militarize in order to go to war with Russia sometime in the future, the inevitable outcome has been that the European Union and Ukraine, it is now a red line for the Russian Federation. This looks like it is going to become official Kremlin policy. It still has not been announced as Kremlin policy, at least not by the Russian President Vladimir Putin, that Ukraine will not be allowed to enter the European Union, in much the same way that Ukraine and an entry into NATO is a red line. But yesterday, Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, he said, as he was speaking at a forum event, that the European Union is just an appendage of NATO, and the European Union's goal is to wage conflict against Russia, and it is very much becoming a part of NATO, more of a military bloc, Lavrov said, than an economic bloc. The European Union, according to Lavrov, started out as an economic union, but now it doesn't care about economics, the economic well-being of the member states. It is now moving towards a military union. And he said it's an appendage or becoming an appendage of NATO. That is what Lavrov said yesterday. And then we got the post from Medvedev, where he pretty much said that Ukraine entering the European Union is a no-go. Let me read you, it's a long post, so let me read you the last couple of paragraphs, the last 3 paragraphs from Medvedev's statement. And I have no doubt that sometime in the future, in the very near future, you're going to get a statement from the Russian President Vladimir Putin saying that not only is NATO, Ukraine entering NATO, a red line, but Ukraine entering the European Union is going to be a red line. Anyway, let me read you a bit of what Medvedev said. Brussels today is a real enemy of Russia. In such a distorted form, the European Union is no less a threat to us than the North Atlantic Alliance. Therefore, the complacent slogan, "Join anywhere but NATO," must be adjusted. Thus, the so-called Ukraine in the EU is a danger for our country. There are 2 ways to stop this danger. A, either the EU itself must realize that it does not need the Kiev quasi-state in principle. B, or which is certainly preferable, if there is simply no one to join the EU. And he said some more very, very rude things about the European Union, which I will not repeat in this video, but you can find the full statement on Telegram and on X. So there you have it. Good job, Ursula. Good job, Kaya Kallas. Stunning and brave Kaya Kallas. Jungle Joseph Borrell, Charles Michel. You have now pushed Russia so as to put Ukraine entering the European Union a red line, or at least we are getting to that point where this will become Kremlin policy. So let's talk about NATO, since we're talking about the EU and NATO, which is essentially one organization. Let's talk about the NATO summit, which I believe has wrapped up. It was a 2-day summit in the Netherlands. And it was a shortened summit because of everything that's going on with the United States, Israel, and Iran. But Trump did show up to this NATO summit. He did take the meeting with Churchill number 2, Abraham Lincoln number 2, also known as the Green Goblin Alensky, who was dressed very, very nice for Daddy Trump, as Rutte refers to him, and I'll get to that in my clown world, because there are a lot of people that a lot of comments that took issue with the video update yesterday, which said that Rutte called Trump daddy, and many comments said that that's not what Rutte called Trump. So I'm going to clear that up in my Clown World segment. According to Mark Rutte, I'm going to quote you exactly what Mark Rutte said as he was explaining his daddy message to the President of the United States, the use of the word daddy as he was speaking with President Trump. Anyway, we'll get to that in the Clown World. Let's focus on Trump and Alensky and Project Ukraine. So Alensky got dressed up for the big meeting with Daddy Trump. And Trump was asked by a reporter if they talked about the ceasefire with Alensky, if he talked with Alensky about the ceasefire. The meeting was actually an hour long, so quite a long meeting. And from what the reports are saying, most of the talking, most of the begging was done by Alensky, and Trump kind of just sat there and listened and nodded. But a reporter asked Trump about what they discussed and if they discussed the ceasefire, and Trump said no. He said no, we did not talk about the ceasefire.
I, of course, would like to know how you slept last night at the House of the King.
Oh, I slept beautifully.
But probably a more serious question. I think you just had a meeting with President Zelensky. Did you discuss any ceasefire in this Russo-Ukrainian war?
No. I wanted to know how he's doing. He was very nice, actually. You know, we had little rough times sometimes. He was couldn't have been nicer. I think he'd like to see an end to this. I do. I think what I took from the meeting couldn't have been nicer, actually. But I took from the meeting that he'd like to see it end. I think it's a great time to end it. I'm going to speak to Vladimir Putin and see if we can get it ended. But look, these are brave people. They're fighting these wars all over the place. You know, last week they had, I guess, close to 7,000 young soldiers, Russian and Ukrainian soldiers were killed, 7,000 in 1 week. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I'll be speaking to Putin. No, I had a good meeting with Zelensky, and I had a lot of good meetings. We had a lot of good meetings with a lot of people, a lot of great leaders. But he's fighting a brave battle. It's a tough battle.
Basically, Trump's answer to the reporter was that Alensky's a nice guy. He said, I've had my issues with Alensky. I'd like to solve Project Ukraine, but Putin's being tough. I've had tough times with Alensky as well, but he's a good guy. That's what Trump says. He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy, that Alensky. That was Trump's answer, but the main point is that Trump said they did not discuss the ceasefire. I don't know what the reporter is thinking about when he's talking a ceasefire. What exactly are you talking about, Mr. Reporter Man? What are you talking about? Are you talking about the Keith Kellogg freeze ceasefire plan? Is that what you're talking about? Is that what you were thinking Alensky and Trump are going to discuss? What they should be discussing is Russia's offer, which still is on the table. The Russian memorandum offer that they made, which actually gave the collective West, the United States and Zelensky, two options. Option number one is in order to get to some sort of a deal, to start the negotiations to get to a deal and a solution with the conflict in Ukraine. Russia said option number one is remove all of Ukraine's troops from the four oblasts, which Russia considers part of the Russian Federation: Zaporozhye, Donetsk, Lugansk, and Kherson, as well as international recognition of those oblasts as being part of the Russian Federation. That's option number one. That's the straightforward option. And the second option that Russia presented to the Trump administration and to Alensky was called the package deal, which, if I remember correctly, Russia said that no more money, no more weapons from anybody to Ukraine, all sanctions or most of the sanctions lifted, guarantees that Ukraine is not entering into NATO, guarantees that Ukraine is not going to look to obtain a nuclear weapon. It was a package deal. A date set for elections so Alensky can go. That was the package deal. So Russia presented two options. Now that would have been something that if Alensky was smart and if he cared about his country, that would be something that he would discuss with the U.S. president. But they didn't discuss anything. Trump's takeaway was that Alensky's a nice guy. That was it. Alensky did say that he wants weapons, of course. Of course he's going to say that. What else is Alensky going to ask for? Weapons and money and weapons. So Alensky asked for Patriots, for air defense missiles and air defense systems. Trump was asked about this, and Trump said that he's going to consider it. That's what he said when he was speaking to reporters. The systems are very hard to get, Trump replied, adding that the U.S. also needs them, noting that some Patriots were being sent to Israel. Trump said the administration would see if we can make some of them available. Not the most reassuring answer from Trump to Alensky, huh? We'll see if we can make some of them available, but the priority is Israel, of course. That's the priority for the United States. They're now in a conflict, which is on pause, but nevertheless a conflict with Iran. And so that's what Trump told the reporter. Well, he didn't say no, but he definitely did not say yes. We're going to see if we have some Patriots lying around somewhere underneath the sofa cushions. Maybe we got a Patriot missile or two. But Alensky, he said that, get this, he said that Ukraine will, if you can't donate, give us the Patriot missiles, the Patriot systems, we'll buy them. We'll buy them. With what money? With what money? You give us money, America, and then we buy Patriot systems. With what money? With no money. Money given to him. That's what Alensky means. The United States, people of America, give me $5 billion, and I'll buy $5 billion worth of Patriots from you. Does that sound good? And 10% for the big guy. It's a good deal, man. It's a good deal. It's like Ferrari coming up to you, like the car company Ferrari, right? Ferrari coming up to you and saying, here's $500,000. Take it. But you have to buy a Ferrari with these $500,000. And you say, sure. I'll buy a Ferrari with that $500,000 that you just gave me, Ferrari. So yeah, that's how Alensky is solving the problem of Patriot air defense systems. He could get the money from the European Union as well. Maybe he'll say, Europe, give me $5 billion and then I'll buy Patriot systems from America. Or maybe he can take it from the interest from the Russian frozen assets, because the interest from the Russian frozen assets, it seems to pay for everything, doesn't it? Anyway, he said that he'll buy the Patriot systems. The communique from the NATO summit, the end of the meeting communique, did mention Ukraine, but only twice and only briefly. From what I read, Alensky did not attend any of the meetings. There was no talk about Ukraine fighting Russia for as long as it takes, or any stuff like that, or arming Ukraine to the teeth in order to deliver a defeat to Putin and his war machine. There was none of that talk. Most of the conference was focused on Trump, on kissing up to Trump and making sure the United States does not leave Europe. Please, United States, don't leave Europe and don't take your money with you. And in order to sweeten up Trump, the NATO member states said that they will agree to 5% of the GDP spending into NATO. That's how they sweetened up Trump in order to give Trump a big victory. They said 5%. That's what we'll spend from our GDP into NATO, and that's how they're kissing up to Trump. That was the main focus of the NATO summit. Ukraine was not a focus. Alensky did attend the dinner, but from what I understand, that was it. And the communique, which was only 5 paragraphs long, barely mentioned Ukraine. The joint communique made only 2 mentions of Ukraine, stating that NATO members had reaffirmed their commitment to provide support to Kiev and continue direct contributions towards its military industry. Really a meaningless statement in the communique about Project Ukraine. And so the main point of the NATO summit was telling Trump that they have agreed to 5% of the GDP. Now, here's the caveat to all of this. 5% of the GDP by 2035. Let's do some Annalena Baerbock math. It is 2025, and NATO is promising 5% of the GDP by 2035. 2035 minus 2025, carry the 1. Square root of 360 degrees multiplied by 360 degrees. That is 10 years away. That is 10 freaking years away. That is when the European NATO member states promise. They promise. They are promising, right? That they will spend 5% of their GDP on NATO defense. So, to be honest, Trump, he did not make any commitments to NATO, right? He went to this meeting. Everyone was kissing his butt. He left the meeting, all good. And NATO, they really didn't make any commitments to Trump either. They told him what he wants to hear. We'll spend 5%. Trump can go back to the U.S. and he can say that he got a big victory. He got the 5% spending. No one's going to really talk about 2035. No one's going to pay attention to that small, tiny, minor detail. But what NATO wanted to do, what Mark Rutte, CEO Mark Rutte wanted to do, is he just wanted to make sure that Trump is not going to abandon NATO in his 3+ years remaining in his presidency. That's it. He just wanted to make sure that they kissed Trump's butt just enough so that he left the Netherlands not yet ready to abandon NATO. Because if the United States abandons NATO, well, then all the money goes. This NATO meeting really did reflect, really showed, it highlighted NATO's weakness. It really highlighted NATO's weakness. Without the United States, NATO is nothing. And it really showed in this meeting. That was it. That was the summit. Let's make sure that that Trump does not leave here angry. So just tell him 5%. We'll wait him out. He's 3 years left. We'll say in 10 years, he can go back and he can declare a big victory. Obviously, the European countries are not going to be able to spend 5% of their GDP on defense. That's not going to happen. But because if that did happen, European countries, their economies would completely collapse if they decided to allocate 5% of their GDP. They're all broke and bankrupt and in recession anyway, and things are not looking good in the future either for EU member states, but they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it in 10 years. They're not going to do it in 20 years. Some countries have not been able to get to 2% of the GDP in 30 years, right? They still have not been able to get to 2%. You think they're going to get to 5% in 10 years? No, they just told Trump what he wanted to hear. Trump goes to the Netherlands. He tells them he talks to them in a very nice way, a friendly way. All is good. They tell Trump what he wants to hear. All is good, and that's that. And Trump promises them, I'm not going to leave NATO anytime soon, so don't worry. And everyone's happy, and Trump could say 5%. Big victory. That was the NATO summit. I don't think I need to say anything more, do I? NATO clinches defense spending deal in big win for Trump. Leaders signed off on a new 5% of GDP defense spending target by 2035. This is from Politico. NATO allies on Wednesday agreed to unleash an avalanche of new defense spending in a show of unity aimed at keeping the U.S. President Trump on board and Russian leader Vladimir Putin at bay. The trick to getting there, handing Trump what he called a great victory. You see, that's what it was all about. Just give him a victory. That's right. In a carefully stage-managed summit built around brevity and predictability, leaders signed off on a new 5% of gross domestic product defense spending target by 2035. That will be made up of 3.5% of GDP for hard capabilities like weapons and troops, and 1.5% for defense-adjacent investments such as cyber and mobility. Trump called the outcome a monumental win for the United States and claimed credit for putting pressure on the alliance members to increase their defense spending. So, Rubio gave an interview to Politico, the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and he was asked about the U.S. Placing sanctions on Russia. The Europeans were hoping that they would be able to convince the Trump White House to go along with bone-crushing sanctions against Russia. The European Union has approved an 18th sanctions package, and it's going to be the 18th sanctions package that will bring Russia's economy to tatters, I tell you. 18 sanctions packages that will bring Russian economy to tatters. Please, America, sanction Russia. What did Rubio say? Nope, not yet. That's what Rubio said. He said, not yet. So he said that, look, we're not going to place additional sanctions on Russia because we're talking to Russia and we're negotiating with Russia. And we have an open channel of communication with Russia, and we don't want to jeopardize that. So the United States is back at the role of being the mediator, right? They're the neutral mediator in the conflict in Ukraine, and they want to continue to talk to Russia and mediate with Russia. And if they place sanctions on Russia, according to, look at that pigeon is beating up the other pigeon. These pigeons are in a fight, man. Did you guys see that? That was like some World Wrestling Federation, WWF, right? Moves. That one pigeon was on top of the other pigeon. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, Rubio said, now we want to continue to talk to Russia, and if we place sanctions on Russia, then they're going to stop talking to us. This is the interview that he had with Politico. He said, if we did what everybody here wants us to do, and that is come in and crush them with more sanctions, we probably lose our ability to talk to them about the ceasefire, and then who's talking to them? Rubio said in an exclusive interview with Politico's Dasha Burns on the sidelines of the NATO summit. Crush them with new sanctions. if we crush them with new sanctions, which will put Russia's GDP at 6% growth, stop crushing us with 6% growth. Russia's at like 4% or 4.5% now. Some more crushing will take them to 5.5%. Yeah, if we crush them with our sanctions, then we can't talk to them anymore. And we're the mediator in all of this, right? We're the neutral mediator, according to Rubio. We have a new U.S. commander for NATO, and this guy's real sharp. Alexis Grinkovich. Alexis with the U.S. Alexis Grinkovich. He is the new NATO commander for the U.S., and he is starting off with a bang. He is saying that Ukraine can win the war. I think Ukraine can win. I think any time your own homeland is threatened, you fight with a tenacity that's difficult for us to conceive of, he said during a Senate hearing on his nomination. He didn't elaborate on the strategy for Ukraine to win. He just believes, as a military commander, that Ukraine can win. They can win the war. Maybe with a super duper 2026 summer offensive organized and put together by Alexis Grinkovich, by NATO, by the United States. If they put together a 2026 super duper counter offensive, maybe they can win. I don't know. That sounds like a plan. Commander Grinkovich. So what else should we talk about? Should we talk about Trump and Iran? Please, let's not talk about Trump and Iran. Okay, we'll talk about Trump and Iran because he was asked questions about Iran. The U.S. president was asked about Iran as he was in attendance at this NATO summit. Trump revealed that Iran did indeed tell the United States that they were going to attack the U.S. airbase in Qatar. He did say that. He said that Iran was really, I think he said they were really friendly or really nice when they called the United States or got in touch with the United States through Qatar. And Trump said that it gave the U.S. the time to remove personnel and to make sure that there was no harm done to any people on the base, to any military personnel on the base. And then Trump said 14 missiles were fired into the base and all the missiles were knocked down. And it's like a gun shooting a bullet from a gun shooting another bullet.
You saw that where 14 missiles were shot at us the other day. And they were very nice. They gave us warning. They said, we're going to shoot them. Is 1 o'clock okay? They said, it's fine. And everybody was emptied off the base, so they couldn't get hurt except for the gunners. They call them the gunners. And out of 14 high-end missiles that were shot at the base in Qatar, all 14, as you know, were shot down by our equipment. Amazing stuff. Amazing that they can do. It's like shooting a bullet with a bullet. It's the same thing if you think about it. 14 out of 14, and they weren't even that surprised. I said, do you do that well often?
And then Trump was asked about the obliteration of the nuclear facilities because there is this big debate that I talked about yesterday in my video update. I'm not going to get into it in this video, but there is a big debate about what exactly was destroyed. The Trump White House claims everything was obliterated in these 3 nuclear facilities, completely obliterated. There is nothing left. Everything has been turned to dust. We are getting some more reports. Tulsi Gabbard said there's a new intel report. She didn't get into any of the specifics. New intelligence, she said, shows that the 3 facilities were indeed obliterated. And there's some CIA report I read on X. I didn't have time to really get into it, to be quite honest, but I read somewhere that there's some CIA analysis which is confirming the obliteration of these 3 facilities. There are a lot of other reports and other leaks from intel sources and other analysis, a lot more analysis. Then you have the leaks, which are saying that there was damage done to these facilities, but it's 2 weeks setback to 2 months setback for Iran and their drive for a nuclear weapon. That's what these other reports are saying. So 2 weeks to 2 months, Iran could be back at it again. And of course, the neocons, that's the narrative that they want to push forward because they want to return to the Trump administration and to the American people in 2 months, and they want to run a narrative that Iran is back at it again. So we have to go into Iran, this time harder, this time with boots on the ground and stuff like that. Anyway. Trump did get a question about the obliteration of the nuclear facilities, debate that is going on. And unfortunately for Trump, he answered it in about the worst way you could possibly answer the question from reporters. Trump said that he doesn't want to use the example of Hiroshima or Nagasaki, but he said that was essentially the same thing. That ended that war. This ended the war.
Succeeded with that hit. That hit ended the war. That hit ended the war. I don't want to use an example of Hiroshima. I don't want to use an example of Nagasaki. But that was essentially the same thing. That ended that war. This ended that with the war. If we didn't take that out, they'd be fighting right now.
So probably not the best statement for Trump to make. Definitely not the best statement for Trump to make. His ego on this, his insistence that this was the greatest military operation in all of history, and this is really getting to him. But he insists that this is the case. This was the absolute greatest freaking operation ever done by any military throughout all of time. It's making him say some pretty unfortunate things, and that statement, in my opinion, that statement was not the right statement to make. But anyway, he's digging in on his assertion that the facilities were destroyed and that he brought peace to the world. He saved the world from a terrible fate. And he brought peace to the world. To give him a Nobel Peace Prize. The world should be thanking him for what he did. And he put together the absolutely most amazing, incredible operation ever known to man. He is not letting go of it. And the neocons are not letting go of their narrative either. So that's where we are with this story. My sense of things, my prediction, which will probably not turn out correct, but maybe it will. My prediction is that Trump's narrative in the end will win with the people. And in about a month's time, maybe even sooner than that, the neocons will think up a new story and a new narrative as to why the United States needs to go back at Iran, go back into Iran, or go back attacking Iran along with Israel. They'll think of something else, or maybe they'll even put together a false flag. If I had to make a prediction, that's what I think is going to happen. So Trump posted, how are we doing on time? Oh my God, we need to wrap this up. So Trump posted on Truth Social about Netanyahu and his trial. Trump said that Netanyahu's corruption trial should be canceled. A very long message on Truth Social. I'll read you just a part of it. Breaking news, I was shocked to hear that the state of Israel, which has just had one of its greatest moments in history and is strongly led by Netanyahu, is continuing its ridiculous witch hunt against their great wartime Prime Minister Bibi. And I just went through hell together. I went through hell together fighting a very tough and brilliant long-time enemy of Israel, Iran. And Bibi could not have been better, sharper, or stronger in his love for the incredible Holy Land. Anybody else would have suffered losses, embarrassment, and chaos. Netanyahu was a warrior like perhaps no other warrior in the history of Israel, and the result was something that nobody thought was possible: a complete elimination of potentially one of the biggest and most powerful nuclear weapons anywhere, really, in the world. And it was going to happen soon, all caps. We were fighting literally for and it goes on and on and on. Wow, one of the most powerful nukes ever in all of history, and one of the most powerful nukes in the world, anywhere in the world. That's what we were talking about. And Netanyahu is a warrior. And we fought it together. I had trouble reading that part because I couldn't quite believe what I was reading from Trump. We went through hell together, fighting a very tough and brilliant, long-time enemy of Israel, Iran. All right, so that's the post on Truth Social from Trump, telling the courts, the legal system in Israel, to drop the court case on Netanyahu. Some other news, and we'll wrap up the video and get to a clown world. Macron met Alensky in the Netherlands. He gave him a big old hug. He gave him a big old hug. That Alensky, Macron, is that Dior Savillon Savage? Yes, it is. Volodymyr, is that Alensky number 5? Yes, it is. Emmanuel. Yeah, big old hug there. And Macron said the U.S. must stop the conflict in Ukraine by using the authority it has gained from acting against Iran, Macron told the NATO summit in The Hague. He argues that after the American intervention, Europe must help Kiev rebuild the Ukrainian army. So that's Macron's game. That's Macron's line now. He is telling Trump, whatever you did to Iran, you have to do it to Russia. You have to help Ukraine in the same way that you helped Israel, right? That's the line that Macron is now trying to go with, trying to sell Trump on. Alensky, he signed some sort of an agreement to put together a Ukraine war tribunal in the Council of Europe. He signed that this morning. Zelensky and Council of Europe rights body sign accord for Ukraine war tribunal, right? So Alensky and the Europeans are now putting together a war tribunal where he is going to put on trial all of the Russian leadership. You know why they're doing this, by the way. I'll tell you exactly why they're putting together this tribunal, and they put it in writing. Alensky's preparing his exile. His exile. He's preparing the foundations of his exile, and setting up a war tribunal with the Council of Europe is one part of Alensky's new role, which is going to be president of Ukraine in exile. So he's going to be president of Ukraine in exile, who can continue to fight Russia and fight the Russian Federation. And he's going to be flanked by Yermak and Budanov and Podolyak. And they have all the contacts and all the intel to continue to strike at Russia. And they also set up the tribunal, of which the Ukraine president in exile will oversee. And so they're just putting the pieces together for Alensky's new role, which will be president of Ukraine in exile, fighting Putin. Anyway, Putin is not going to be going to Brazil for the next BRICS summit. The Kremlin said that they don't want to risk the ICC warrant in Brazil. I don't think that's it, though it may be a part of it. I think that they're afraid of Putin flying that kind of distance. I think the Kremlin realizes how crazy the collective West has become as they lose their dominance and we move into a multipolar world. And who knows what they will do? Look at what they did in Iran. I think the Kremlin is sitting in Moscow. The Security Council in Moscow is saying, look at what they did in Iran. Decapitation strikes, talking about taking out the supreme leader in Iran. Who knows what these people will do if we allow Putin to fly from Moscow to Brazil? And you know what? Xi Jinping is not going to go to the summit in Brazil either. This is the first BRICS summit that Xi Jinping is going to miss. So let's do a clown world. Yesterday, I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, where I thought, looking at the group photo, I thought that the very elegant, very nicely dressed woman in the front row was Alensky's wife. And it turns out I was wrong. That is the Queen, not Alensky's wife. Though they look very, very similar, to my defense, they do look very much alike. But that was a mistake. That is the Queen, and she was standing next to the King, who was standing next to Trump Actually, she was in between the king and flip-flopper Macron. So that was my mistake. Alensky was in the second row, standing next to Ursula von der Leyen in this photo. That is correct. Podolyak, that my wife in front row? Mr. President, that's the Queen. Podolyak, my wife Queen? This is great news. This means she must have money to give me, Podolyak? Yes, Mr. President. Yes, Mr. President. Ask her for money. Anyway, all right. Trump is lashing out at CNN Natasha Bertrand. I don't know who that is, to be honest. But anyway, Trump is making her popular, lashing out at her. Natasha Bertrand should be fired from CNN. Watched her for 3 days doing fake news. She should be immediately reprimanded and then thrown out. Oh boy, like a dog. Terrible thing to post on Truth Social, no matter how upset you are with this reporter. Anyway, she lied on the laptop from hell story, and now she lied on the nuclear sites story, attempting to destroy our Patriot pilots by making them look bad when in fact they did a great job and hit pay dirt. Total obliteration, all in caps. She should not be allowed to work at fake news CNN. It's people like her who destroyed the reputation of a once great network. What else does he say? Oh my God, why did I read this? Her slant was so obviously negative. Besides, she doesn't have what it takes to be an on-camera correspondent, not even close firing. Okay. Anyway, CNN said, no, we stand 100% behind Natasha. Why are you posting this as President of the United States? Why are you even wasting your time posting this as President of the United States anyway? All right, let's move on. What else? There's an Alensky confidence poll that was conducted by Pew Research for the spring of 2025. I'll put it up on the screen. Sweden has the most confidence in Zelensky. I don't even know what they mean by confidence. I didn't go further into this Pew poll. I didn't research it. I just didn't have time. But anyway, they say confidence in Zelensky. I don't know what that means, but whatever. Sweden has a lot of confidence in Zelensky. They have about 85% confidence in Zelensky. Netherlands has about 74% confidence in him. UK 72, Germany 64. And it goes all the way down to Hungary, who does not have confidence in Zelensky, only 23%. And Greece with 19%. Greece. You see, we know a clown politician when we see one. That's right. Greeks know. We know. He wasn't fooling us. Australia has a 67% confidence in the Green Goblin. Japan has a pretty high confidence. Kenya has a 49% confidence. Mexico, 25%. Brazil, 29%. Turkey, 27%. India, 32%. All right. And finally, we'll wrap things up with our Mark Rutte. I will play a video of Mark Rutte, who explains his daddy, his use of the word daddy when talking to Trump. And to be quite honest, Rutte's explanation does not make it any better. Okay, in summary, Rutte, the CEO of NATO, says that he used the word daddy because Europe, the European countries and NATO are like children, and Trump is like the daddy of the family. EU member states are asking the question of Rutte, is Trump going to stay with the family? And so he used the word daddy in order to say that he's the daddy of the family and he's going to stay with the family. You can hear it direct from Rutte. I'm done. The Duran.locals.com. Hit a like, hit the subscribe, and I will see everybody tomorrow. Duran Shop. Pick up some merch. Take care.
The daddy thing, I didn't call him daddy. What I said is that sometimes in Europe, I hear sometimes countries saying, hey, Mark, will the US stay with us? And I said, that sounds a little bit like a small child asking his daddy, hey, are you still staying with the family? So in that sense, I use daddy, not that I was calling President Trump daddy.